What's up, you guys? FSC Speed Shop. It's been a little bit since we made a video on the Speed Shop channel, but we're going to try to start pushing some content over here as well. We're trying to change up a little bit with the trucking channel, but we're also going to start doing Speed Shop channel content as well, because, you know, after all, that's where we kind of started the YouTube space on. We're not doing a video of the boat, but I did have to move the boat out of the way. What we're doing is over here at the storage units that I rent, and that motorhome, we're gonna go ahead and get that going and get it out of here. This video is gonna kind of go along with the trucking video because the motorhome's got to come out of here, but we're bringing a Peterbilt in. The motorhome, well, let's go ahead and talk about what we're doing with it. All right, well, let's talk about it real quick. This is the motorhome. It's a 1977 Ford E350, so it's an Econoline Ford van, 1 ton. You know, basically it's a F350 but van style. The way these were done back in the day was Ford built the chassis and then he shipped them off to Coachman to build the camper part on the back of it. And then it was actually put out as a titled Coachman. It's not actually titled as a Ford, which, I don't know, I guess it's the way to do motorhomes, because Ford would sell them as an unfinished vehicle. Coachman was the vehicle finisher, so it went out as a Coachman. That way it would be registered as an RV, not a heavy truck. But it's still a heavy truck at heart. Underneath this very small hood, buried underneath, is a 460 Ford, you know, the big 460 cubic inch Ford big block, C6 transmission that if you look underneath, you see there's a reason I have a catch pan under there, it still leaks oil. So when it sits still, it just drains itself of oil. So why is it here? Well, I bought this many, many years ago when my travel trailer that you've seen in previous videos was kind of stranded in New Jersey for a bit. And I started using this back in what I would refer to as my homeless days during the last Great Recession, 08, 09, you know, up into like 2010s. I was full-time driving and I really didn't need a place to live because I was always in the Peterbilt. So I parked this outside my shop and it worked. I didn't have custody of my sons yet, so at that point, it was a good way to work. It was cheap, and because of that, I was able to actually use this motorhome to do stuff like take the kids down to the Florida Keys. We used this at one point. This was all the way down to Key West, so that's what we did. And naturally, over time and progression, I really just never wanted to get rid of it. And now I'm starting to determine whether or not I should keep it, whether it's worth trying to fix it up and start using it to tow the big trailer with the toys. You know, what do I do with it? So ultimately it got left in here because I wanted it out of the weather and I wanted to maybe start working on it. One thing I do want to mention is this motorhome is proof that you could do a lot with very little if you have the tenacity and the courage actually to just push forward and do things. These are not expensive at all, but they are pricey to operate. I mean, you know, fuel economy, I mean, you're lucky it gets 9, 8, 10 mile a gallon-ish, you know. But you could do a lot with your children with a unit like this. You don't have to go far either. I mean, you literally have a campground, I guarantee, within 20 miles of your house. And that's like a whole other world, you know. So the point is you don't have to sit home and need like a big, huge RV or nothing. You know, a cheap rig like this would do you. And that's what I did for many years. And as the money got a little bit better, we went farther with it. Nowadays, we have that big, huge 2-car enclosed trailer, which I bought as a bumper pull, you know, class 3 type hitch rather than a gooseneck, because I wanted motorhomes or Suburbans or maybe one day a larger SUV that I might buy to pull it. I didn't want to have a pickup truck with a gooseneck. That might have been a smarter move, but I was thinking motorhomes and buses and things of that nature. This unit is 24 feet. The other trailer is about 40 feet. So you're touching the end of your length laws out here. Wisconsin's 65 feet total. So we're kind of right at that edge of 65 feet with that trailer hitched to this. So it'll definitely have the power to do it. It won't be the fastest thing on planet Earth, but that's kind of the plan. Now bear in mind also, with Matthew has moved out, he's got on to a bigger, better life for him. So nowadays it's just me and Jen. We've actually been looking into truck campers rather than motorhomes, but we don't have that right now. And to be honest, I don't want to borrow the kind of money to get a brand new truck camper. So maybe it's best to just put some money in the old Bessie here and then go on with life. With that, enough of me yapping. Let's just get into the crux of the video and start working and not talking. The way these old motorhomes work, at least this particular one, is this battery here, this runs the engine. There's another battery over there, and I call that affectionately the body battery, because the way it works is for motorhomes to go down a road and everything to be able to function, they have to be able to run everything. And you know, when you hook up to a campground, just like at your house, everything runs on 110 AC. The trouble is all the lights in the body won't run on 110 AC, they will run on 12 volts. So when you're hooked up to the camper, there's a battery charger inside, like a maintainer type battery that'll raise and lower the amperage based on what the draw is. So as you turn on more lights inside, it'll pull it on the battery, and then the charger will maintain your battery. Now, if you're on the road and you're not hooked up to nothing, everything has to run on 12 volts. So you now are limited to what that battery will do. Now, when the engine's running, the way it's supposed to work is the alternator is supposed to charge both batteries. The problem is if you've been sitting overnight for a while, you got one battery low, one battery fully charged, and then as soon as you turn your ignition on, you start charging one battery and overcharging the other. That's historically been a problem with RVs. Modern technology might be able to eliminate some of that problems, but that was the old problems back in the day. And of course, this being an old school unit, it's probably a problem to this day. Honestly, I don't remember whether the alternator will charge the body battery or not. But for right now, all we're trying to do is move the vehicle and get it to the new shop. So all I'm going to do is change out this battery, leave that one alone, fire it up, and get it out of here so I can get it on the trailer. Surprised you still move with the ease that they do. Negatives off. I don't remember what that, oh, the radio. That went to the new radio. September of 2011. It's 11 years ago. This is today is September of 2022. It's beautiful. Guarantee you, because it's been sitting a long while, it's going to need fluid. Of course, it's not been running a bit, and it shows it's got fluid in it. It never drains all the way out, but it drains a lot out. Lay the dipstick there. And as you can tell, we've had to do this quite a many times. So the motorhome actually wound up having its own dedicated funnel, because that's how often you had to do this. Now, Ford, original Ford, Type F. True story, the pickup truck right behind you, a buddy of mine borrowed it. This is back in the mid-90s. He borrowed it, he did me a favor. Well, he was trying to do me a favor. And he topped off my fluids, and my power steering had a little leak. He didn't know any better. He put, at the time, Dexron 2, which is for Chevrolets, in a Ford that requires Type F. Yeah, imagine the leak it has now. So yeah, you have to put Type F in these. Now, I don't know about the modern stuff, like the newer, like what are they up to, Dexron 6, 5, whatever. I don't know how compatible it is with the original old Fords. I really didn't want to try it. So if I can find Type F, I will. This crap is literally about $9 a quart now though. So I'm gonna shove like 3 quarts in this bad girl. And then we'll fire it and see if it'll go into gear. Now, to get the old girl started can kind of be a trick. The thing with this particular truck, turn the ignition on, I'll explain why. What happens with these old trucks is there was a mechanical fuel pump on this engine. In fact, it's still hanging there. But because it's a 460 and a Ford, these pumps, if you could find them, they're quite old by the time you buy them. And with modern ethanol, they seem to be ruining the rubber in them pumps. And I've lost 3, believe it or not, in the course of my lifetime of owning this truck, I've lost 3 fuel pumps, mechanical fuel pumps, due to that. So what I've done is I've installed a Carter electric pump mounted on the frame rail, and that way it just sucks from the tank direct and will pump up. It has enough power to pump up the fuel right to the carburetor. The original Ford Motorcraft carburetor leaked terribly. It just dumped fuel right into the intake manifold. So at an idle, it would flood out and die. But it ran good, but good luck starting it. And then the choke, it never held adjustment worth the crap. So I made an adapter plate. I had to actually make an adapter plate to go so I could put a Edelbrock carburetor on there, more like, 4-barrel, basically a racing carburetor, street strip kind of stuff, and bolted onto this stock intake manifold on this Ford. So with the ignition turned on, we're filling the float bowl of that Edelbrock, and I never did hook a choke to it. It does have manual choke, but I never ran a cable. So just give her a handful of pumps and turn the key and she should fire. Give her a little bit more. There you go. Again, there's no choke. She's cold and hasn't ran for quite a while. Oil pressure come right up, so I probably should have checked it, but the pan underneath it was more red than anything, so it's never had a major oil problem as far as engine oil. I'll let it idle a little bit with my foot on the throttle. There's no high idle setting either. So I have to let it idle a little bit with my foot on there or jam something against the throttle so it'll stay running. Almost. While I'm filming, let's see if she'll go into gear. Here's drive. There's reverse. Neutral. Park. Oh, and the kick down lever is no longer there. That's when you bounce the throttle right to the floor and it'll downshift. That's not hooked up. So if you do that, you have to do it manually. Which, it's not good for the column, it wears them out, but what are you gonna do? There are cables made for that though. We'll see what we do with this vehicle in the beginning of the future. Alrighty, she's happy idling.